Hello everyone, it's channel update time with me, Get Daved, October and September edition. Last month was pretty crazy, as is this month, what with Extra Life coming up, more on that in 1 minute. So I didn't do an update last month, but I'll spill the beans on what happened now, and honestly I'm probably going to switch to bi-monthly or quarterly channel updates for the next little while, just because they actually take quite a while. I know they look super low effort, and they are, but even that takes a long time to figure out what to say. All right, the big news is it's Extra Life, and I was actually super on the fence on whether or not I was going to do it this year, and I decided one more because we talked about a couple of things at the end of Extra Life last year, and so we'll do them this time around. So anyway, it's coming up next weekend on November 3rd. I'm going to be going from 12 o'clock Mountain to midnight Mountain on November 3rd, which is Saturday. Check it out. It's to raise money for the Stollery Children's Hospital via Extra Life, via the Children's Miracle Network. You can have details on the money. 100% of it goes to the hospital, and you get a tax receipt and everything, and it'll be a good time. I'm going to stream for 12 hours. On getdave.com, I have the planned to-do list, which we'll put on screen here. We'll have the usual Star Trek Bridge Crew, or actually it's usually Artemis, but this year it's going to be Star Trek Bridge Crew with the gang, so Quill. I don't think any of us have ever played it before, so I'm super excited because this is very similar to the first time we played Artemis, where we're sort of figuring it out as we go. But if you know something I don't, let me know. If there's like a really long mandatory tutorial, we'd all be like having to go through and be super boring, or if it's like really hard to meet up with friends ahead of time. If you've played the game, let me know, please, because that'd be a weird surprise. We're also going to be doing tabletop with Y Caliber again. Last year we did Roving Bastion Arms Fair, which is his ridiculous mech universe. We're doing that again, but based on a different underlying board game. Last year we based it on Lancer, which was cool. This year we're basing it on Beam Saber. Anyway, we're going to be doing that for a while. There's some open blocks. Going to game with Mrs. Get Daved probably. So maybe we'll do Overcooked, and you can watch the divorce happen on live stream. You people who have played Overcooked, you know what I mean. All right, that's what's going on. That's what's planned anyway, and there's a whole bunch of fun stuff we could do in the open blocks I have listed. We'll just wing it, whatever works, whatever's easy to record, whatever people want. All right, onto the channel. Dragon Quest XI still going strong. This is actually really cool, but it's actually been one of the most popular Let's Plays I've done in a long time, and I was a little nervous because long games tend to not hold their numbers super well, but it's been going well, and there's a solid core of people who are interested, and I'm really enjoying it, and the game just keeps getting better. How long will it go? Until the end of part 2 for sure, so we're probably past the halfway point, more around the 2/3 point right now. I've also heard the post game is really important, so depending on what happens I might tack that on as well, but probably after a bit of a break, unless the transition between part 2 and the post game is as crazy as the one between part 1 and 2. For those of you not in the know, that was crazy, and I was very upset. Say it louder! I'm upset! So I started a company called Reclamation Games. We're working on a video game. The goal was to get a vertical slice done by the end of this year. It's still possible that that could get hit. To a certain extent, I don't feel bad if I'm like a month late on that or something. I feel bad if I'm like a year late on it. But some really important stuff had to get done, and a bunch of it has. So in September, I finished the first draft of the script for the game, the whole thing. I had lots of bits written already. They were sort of scattered in notes, and I would get an idea for one scene, and some stuff I didn't have figured out. But for the most part, I just sort of had to tie it together, because over the course of a couple of years, I'd sort of determined what all the characters were going to do, and I knew from very early on what I wanted the general arc to be. Anyway, first draft was finished. 123 pages using, traditional script writing software. That doesn't include environmental and incidental dialogue, so this looks interesting. That sort of stuff isn't as big a deal because you don't really need to weave a plot together the same way. I also did one round of revisions after a proofreading from a collaborator, and then I'm almost done the second round of revisions, which I basically do after not looking at the script at all for a few weeks. But that was the big thing from September, and I was actually really surprised by how physically tiring the process of writing that much was. I had one day where, on top of work and like personal life stuff, I wrote for 7 hours, and you might think, wow, that sounds like you'd be mentally drained, but like it felt like I ran a race. It was quite bonkers. Anyway, my plan in September, which I thought I was absolutely lying to myself. I thought, well, maybe I can do 200 story points. No, 100 is sort of my number. But the script got finished, and I'm happy with it. There's a couple areas I still want to tweak a little bit more, but yeah, I would say 95% of it I'm happy with. And then there's a little bit of work where, depending on the order of events, the script changes a bit. So I have to write a few different potential chains of cause and effect. And then there's another review phase, and then stick a fork in it. It's done. The other big thing on the chopping block, and it's so ridiculous, I thought I could write. I had like 20 pages of the script done at the start of September. So this is ridiculous that I thought I could write a 100 more pages of a script and code the AI. I'm almost done it now. It's probably going to spill into November a little bit. AI coding is still pretty close to being done, and the really neat thing, and part of why it was so difficult, is if you think about a game like Metroid or Mario or Mega Man, the enemies don't actually have AI for the most part. They have typically some patterns, and that's not a bad thing. So I had to sort of reconcile, like, do I want enemies to just have a pattern? Your most obvious example is like a Goomba who only walks to the left, and you just sort of stomp on them. Or, they chase you a little bit in the 3D Mario games, but the point is they don't really have AI. In the 3D ones, they have sort of some basic pathing, and that's really it. Mega Man games, again, most of the enemies are following like a really basic pattern, usually some sort of idle, shoot. And again, that's not really super robust AI, but I coded a system where I can apply it to maybe not the bosses, which will usually have their own special rules, but 100% of the enemies in the game should be able to run off of this one system I'm using, and just sort of building as I go. I like, it's super complicated, and maybe, well, you wouldn't understand. No, it's not good conversation material, but I came up with this idea of sort of tracking like all the things they're capable of, and then their biases towards certain behavior. So you might have, this guy's got a melee weapon and a ranged weapon, but he has a strong bias towards using his melee weapon and a bias towards running away. So like, that's your person, your guard or whatever, that's cowardly. So like, that would actually be programmed into that type of enemy. Or you could vary it so there's a whole class of enemies that generally act similarly, and then you can tweak the variables. So like, yeah, this guy's a coward, this guy's like a suicide bomber, this guy, yeah, you get some real flexibility. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. It's not quite done. So wrapping that up is going to be the plan for the next sprint. I'll try to put up some graphs for how things went. The lines didn't really converge, but I had a lot more bitten off than I could chew in the first sprint, and I kind of, deep down inside, I knew it, because there were 200 story points and my rate is just like 100. And this one, again, it was slightly more than 100. I'm also like not on pace to finish, and it's like looking really bad right now, but I have 53 story points where I'm like 80% of the way towards closing off all of them. So hopefully, I only have a couple days left in the month, but hopefully, I don't know, it'd be nice to, it'd feel pretty cool if I got all those done. Anyway, that is the grand 2-month update. If you're a fan of the channel and you want to support me on Patreon, it's much appreciated. That lets me fund the channel and some of the game development expenses and everything. Super helpful. And if you want to support a children's hospital near you, or ones that Team Get Waved has picked, you can support us when Extra Life comes in a couple days, or just come check it out. We're all going to have a good time. I was really on the fence about whether or not I was going to do Extra Life, and this might be my last year, but now that I've sort of finally committed, I'm getting excited because there's some really cool things coming up. Thanks for watching the update, everyone. I'll see you in the next Let's Play. You have yourself a wonderful day.